In this video, I want to demonstrate a very cool plugin that I built. It's a Liveblog plugin, and basically what it allows you to do is on WordPress, instead of having to post a new news post each time with different content, you could actually have news posts contained within an existing blog post. And this is useful for high content in situations such as disasters of any kind or news events where you might be reporting on a minute by minute basis, and you want to constantly be sending that news out, and you don't want to necessarily be creating separate blog posts for each. It allows users to keep a page open and constantly see new content as it comes in at regular intervals without having to even refresh the page. And it's a great way for keeping content organized around a theme instead of having to post completely separate news stories around a specific central area, especially if there's little snippets of information coming in, or if you don't want to inundate your entire site with lots of new articles. So the entire plugin was built entirely in ChatGPT, with ChatGPT doing the coding, and it was done using a lot of WordPress's existing powerful tools, which we just utilized for our advantage. So I want to walk you through, first of all, what this can do, and then a little bit of how I created it. So this is what it looks like on the front end. So you've got this Liveblog over here, and then this is actually a shortcode. We paste in a shortcode. That shortcode pulls any content you've tagged with a specific category. I'll show you how that's done in a minute. Newest first. It can support embeds. It can support inline photos, regular photos. You can see this kind of looks like entire blog posts, but they're right here on the page with a little timestamp. And then we can even embed custom HTML in between. So if you want to have banner ads that appear here, you can do so. And this is automatically refreshing at set intervals, which you can actually define. So if we look, for example, at the process of creating post, it would look something like this. You go to Liveblogs, and this is where you can create basically a new theme. And this is essentially just using WordPress as a category feature. So I could say sporting event, and I would create a new live blog. Each live blog is given a shortcode, which you can paste right into your post or your pages, and it will start displaying any content that is tagged with this category. Then you can go to create a new live blog post, and you can just create the post, new post, and you simply need to tag it with the appropriate live blog category and publish it, and it will start appearing live. Now in the settings, we actually have control over parts of how this works. Firstly, you can embed HTML. This is the banner ad, and you can tell it how many posts to skip before it puts another one. Do you want a banner ad after every live blog item, or do you want it after every few? You can put in custom CSS so that you can actually style each live blog item to fit with the style of your site. And you can auto refresh. You can set this is set to automatically refresh at set intervals, and you can set it to refresh at lower or faster rate depending on how many stories you're putting out and how quickly you want users to get these updates. The faster the refresh rate, the faster they'll get their stories, but it also adds load to your server. And actually behind the scenes here, to kind of reduce some of the load on your server, even if you set the refresh rate to 1 minute, it actually will take between 1 and 2 minutes randomly for each user to get the refresh. That means that we're spreading out the request for new content over 1 additional minute so that your server isn't getting hit with everything exactly at the same time, but at least we're spreading that request for new content over a minute to slightly reduce the load. So let's take a look at how this was built. It's actually quite straightforward. So first of all, even before I even started, I just took a few minutes to map out, this is Notion, what the features would be, what I envision the architecture to look like, the main things I need. It's really helpful to get on paper what you plan on doing before you even start coding, because it gives you an overall structure. So what the user is going to be able to do, how it should be assigned to specific categories, how it works as a custom post type, how we can attribute the custom post type back to a category, how we use a shortcode to add it in, custom CSS, menu items, where you would actually be able to do it. So now let's take a look at the actual code that we did to do this. This is a plugin. It's actually very simple plugin. It's actually all on one page of PHP. Liveblog.js is empty. Style.css is just a little bit of out-of-the-box styling just to create something that looks a little bit different. And to do this, I just basically, in steps, instructed ChatGPT and really broke it down into the things that I needed. So we can kind of take it from the top down. It's mostly organized in the order that I created it, but sometimes I put things earlier because they refer to other things later on. So I wanted to make sure that that was covered. So in the beginning, we're just creating the plugin and queuing any CSS and JavaScript that we need. And then we start over here. It starts by creating a custom post type, which harnesses all the power of WordPress's custom posts and posting features, because really all this is posts that are embedded inside other posts. And I gave it the parameters that we needed for that. And then creating specifically this category feature, but we're not going to call it categories. We're going to refer to it as live blogs. So that's how we have over here live blog posts, and then live blogs as sort of unifying themes, which is basically a category. So once that's created, I also wanted to create a settings page. So the settings page is where you saw all those controls. So just creating the page itself is over here. And then a form, which gets all those different settings and passes it back to WordPress. So that's the settings form over here. And that gets passed on to the actual shortcode when we do it. So this is where we actually pull the content. So it's the code that basically gets the parameters from the settings and then actually checks and takes the shortcode and displays it right on the page. So we're getting the date and the time and the thumbnails. I had to do a little bit of coding here to make sure that it was properly applying all the settings. So embeds worked properly and the paragraphs in HTML worked properly because it was stripping it out. So there's some extra code here for that. Then here we have the logic to actually refresh the post at set intervals. So it's pulling the content from live blog items. It's refreshing that ID called live blog items, and it is pushing it at the interval. Sorry, that's down over here. So this is the refresh, and the refresh is triggered using the custom refresh time frame that you define. We actually have currently in the console, I was just checking to see that was all working correctly, making sure we're pulling the right blog post and checking that the time frame people were using were actually doing it. I can actually comment this out now that I know that it's working correctly. Then I wanted to make sure that people could easily access the new live blog shortcodes. So that's over here. This is adding it to the categories page, a new column that develops the shortcode, and that's pretty much it. And so you can get that and you put it onto the site. Now there's a lot of trial and error here. With ChatGPT, there was really a lot of, about, I'd say, 75% of it was accurate. Some of it is kind of weirdly wrong, and you gotta have at least some understanding of the code to see where it's getting it wrong. Things like not referring correctly to the right shortcode, to the custom post types names, even though we named them over here. Sometimes inventing code that just doesn't exist in WordPress. So it helps I feel like I'm at a stage where I can read code but not speak it, similar to if it was a language. If people were talking to me, I would understand, but I wouldn't feel comfortable saying it. And so that level of understanding is perfect for ChatGPT, especially if you have like a product manager type of thing. So I have a bit of product manager experience, a bit of UX design experience. So I brought it all together and I have it do a lot of the heavy lifting for me and troubleshooting as I need. And for the most part, with the help of a developer friend, was able to get this up and running in a matter of just a few hours.